जय जय सुरनायक जन सुखदायक प्रणत पाल भगवंता गोद्विज हितकारी जय सुरारी सिंधु सुता प्रियकंता पालन सुरधरणी अद्भुत करनी मरम न जानई कोई जो सहज कृपाला दीन दयाला करऊ अनुग्रह सोई अनुग्रह सोई जय जय अविनाशी सब घटवासी व्यापक परमानंदा अभिगत गोतीतम चरित पुनीतम माया रहित मुकुंदा जेहि रागी बिरागी अति अनुरागी विगत मोह मुनि वृंदा ध्यावहि गुण गण गावहि जयति सच्चिदानंदा जयति सच्चिदानंदा जेहि सृष्टि उपाई त्रिविध बनाई संग सहाय न दूजा सो करऊ अघारी चिंत हमारी जानिय भगति न पूजा जो भव भय भंजन मुनि मन रंजन गंजन विपति बरूथा मन बच क्रम बानी छाड़ी सयानी सरन सकल सुर जूथा सरन सकल सुर जूथा शारद श्रुति शेषा ऋषय अशेषा जा कहूँ कोई न जाना जेहि दीन पियारे वेद पुकारे द्रवहु सो श्री भगवाना बारिधि मंदर सब विधि सुंदर गुण मंदिर सुख पुंजा मुनि सेथ सकल सुर परम भयातुर नमत नाथ पद कंजा नमत नाथ पद कंजा जय जय अविनाशी सब घटवासी व्यापक परमानंदा अभिगत गोतीतम चरित पुनीतम माया रहित मुकुंदा जेहि लागी बिरागी अति अनुरागी विगत मोह मुनि वृंदा निसि बासर ध्यावहि गुण गण गावहि जयति सच्चिदानंदा जयति सच्चिदानंदा।
I noticed something that when I talk about the force fields, of Maya especially, then it seems like it is distant from us. Something calling us from the outside. It's just the realm of appearances. You see? But the biggest construct, the center of gravity of that force field is this me. You see? So remember that at the center of that force field of Maya is the idea of me, the attachment to the me, the focus on the me. And at the center of the force field of the truths is God's light, is God's presence. So these are the two push and pull systems in our life. So, and to access either force field, like if you want to go to the force field of Maya, an attachment to the me, then you have to go to the mind. Yeah? You can't access it really without going to the mind. And to access the force field of God, of truth, you have to go to your heart, to the heart temple within yourself. And the more that you have constructed, spend your time constructing one or the other, the more that will seem compelling. So if you spend all our life focused on the me, then that will seem even more compelling. Although in the moment, through letting go of thoughts, you can drop it. It is never that compelling that it forces you to participate in Maya. It's never that much. And the same way, if you really spend your time constructing your heart temple, then even when the temptations are strong from Maya, then you can find a way to return to your heart. And the point of telling you this is not for you to do a post-mortem. It's not for you to analyze up from the past. It is only what you are going to start working on now. Okay? So, spend every moment now with at least the intention to be with God and allow the presence to follow that intention. And have the intention to let go of your mind, to let go of the me. An active intention which you actually work on moment to moment. So that in a nutshell, and every day I say like this, but in a nutshell encompasses the spiritual project at hand. So what can happen is, because most of humanity seems to be caught up in this outer world through the lawyer of Maya, which is in our head. It seems like in the world there is really no way out. But the good news is that those who are constructing the heart temple, those who are living in God's light or trying to live in God's light, they become like the escape hatches from the realm of Maya for you to return back to the heart. So by coming to Satsang, you try to access the escape hatch from the realm of Maya, and then through the presence of those who are looking for God or living in God's light, you find a pathway back to your heart. You see? Because if this was not there, then it would seem very, very difficult for everyone. So within the play of Maya itself appears these escape routes, like Satsang, like bhajan, like our spiritual practices, everything that allow us to escape from this realm of suffering to the true place where God is living. So when we use the body construct, then this spiritual journey is called the journey from the head to the heart. But actually, empty of the body construct, it is from the realm of Maya, the realm of suffering, to God's home, to God's life. Simply put, between heaven in God's presence and hell in the presence of the mind. Your heart is also calling you. Your heart calls you. The call of the Atma within is calling you. But it doesn't force. It's not in a rush. It's not blackmailing you like your mind is. It doesn't want to make you right, the non-existent one, proud. So it takes a sensitivity to access your heart, and it takes brute force to go with the mind. So you can notice for yourself right now, are you soft in your heart? Are you, what can contaminate your sensitivity in the heart? Your pride, of course, we talk about it every day. Then you're wanting to be right, you're holding grievances, your anger, hatred, fear, all of these will get in the way. Your heart wants to bloom, it wants to flower. And it is important that you let it flower, because in the flowering of this, your intuitive insights also flower. It is the home of true knowledge, self-recognition. Atma Gyan comes from Atma. Worldly Gyan comes from the mind. True love comes from the Atma. The true way of life, the true will of God that takes care of our problem of decision making and choice making, all comes from there. So we must stay here. Remain empty in the mind. Let all the thoughts come and go. And the fullness of your heart will start revealing itself to you. His presence, His light will start revealing itself to you. And why does it seem tough? Because the compelling nature of the gravitational force of the mind's thoughts, the notion of the me that keeps pulling you back. So just to remain empty of that is very beautiful to start with. And with the fresh exercise we've done for many years, just empty. And in our heart, if we really look and we are truthful with ourselves, we know whether we are making everything about the me or we are making it about God. What is this about? And many of us may feel that it is Maya that is happening to me. It is happening to me. You see? I am being pulled away from God, almost with the sense that I can't help it. You see? But you can. Every moment. Every moment. What is your sense right now? What is your intention right now? You have to really slow it down because the mind likes to rush you. Maya goes, don't look here, there, just come with me, fast, 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 fast. You're right, you are right. It is not contemplative, it is not slow, it is not really observant, attentive. It's just rushing into trouble after trouble. And in all of that, we miss God's presence, His place, which is right here. That is why it is important. What the sages have said, Antarmukhi Sada Sukhi. Those who have turned inwards are always content, always happy. What is this turning inwards? It is to make everything about that which is in your heart, about God's life, God's presence. Turning outwards is grasping at things. And turning outwards is a constant denial of God. The me is a denial of God. If the sun is shining, then what light of the star can we see? So to deny the presence of the sun and to focus on the little minute light of the me, which is not actually light, which is to go with the metaphor, is a denial of the true light in our life. And it is this which is the cause of all trouble. So use your prayer, use your inquiry, use all the tools that have been given to you so that you remain focused on what is truly important. All that is in the world is passing. So now the project is clear, the tools are clear. project is clear and the tools are clear. We just have to do it and fail and do it and fail and do it and fail. And that acceptance, that looking makes us humble, makes us faithful. Because even in this following and falling down and following and falling down, we are much better off than we were earlier catering to the me. When we thought we were flying high on this egoic pride, we're actually digging our way to hell. In this crawling, it seems like at times, and failing even to crawl, we're actually finding our way to the true place in our heart. So there's room for full humility, but there's no room for despair. Despair is what? Despair is the sad version of pride. Can you despair without pride? What is the voice of despair? Despondency. Oh, I still haven't got it. I've tried and tried. I should have got it by now. It's never going to happen for me. In the pride that it should have happened. I am deserving, I am worthy of this. It doesn't allow us to just be on the path quietly and humbly. It still wants to bring the focus back on the me. So there is no room for despair. There is room for observing our pride. There is room for observing where we trip up. It's a bit confusing because sometimes the great sages say, but I'm the worst of the lot, mujhse bura na koi. That can also sound like despair, but it's not. It's a very joyful acceptance of our foolishness. But when we are despairing about that, when we are caught up in ourselves about that, then we're not actually feeling like we are the worst. Because it's still seeming like it's an attack by ourselves on ourselves. Anything that stops you from being with Ram is Ravana. And Ravan has what? Ravan has all the tricks, all the Maya, no? Literally. He'll say, what about this? What about that? What about him? What about her? And in all of this, all of these tricks, we will lose our chance to be with Ram, to be with the light of the Atma within, which is literally the meaning of the word Ram. So don't give it up for anything at all. What stops you from being with the truth is the false. You see? Now your mind will offer up a lot of yes, but, yes, but, yes, but. What is the but? What about this? What about my work? What about my family? What about? I have not said anything about either of them. What about my relationships? What about it? We've not talked about any of that. That is just part of the outer appearance of this world. And in the light of consciousness, in God's light, all of it will play out. It's literally like saying, although you may not see it that way, it's literally like saying, what about the sun? If I stay with God, then will the sun rise or set? Do you see it like that? Nobody says that. No? When I say, okay, drop it all. Nobody says, but will the sun rise? Or will it set? But it's just like that. Because the movement of this body is part of the same functioning which is making the sun rise and set. The same consciousness is projecting these images on the screen. So our job is to be inwardly focused on God. What happens in the outer realm is none of our business. So work can happen, family can be fine or not. Either way, it has nothing to do with anything. But if you are going to carry some intention, if you are going to take the pose of doing something, then it must be from following God's will. Otherwise, just remain empty to all of this. Yeah. And the yes, but. Yes, but. Is yes, but me. Yes, but what about me? Whether we accept it or not, that is the only thing that stops us. What stops you from being with God all the time? Tell me. What stops you? So usually these days, I'm just being very irritating to everyone. Because many of you, when you write to me with your problems, it's like, but where is the time for this? Where are you finding the time to trouble yourself with this? Because your job, if you are part of this project, is unceasing prayer, nirantar japa. Then unceasing means breaks or let me take some breaks and trouble myself with some ideas about somebody and something and and that doesn't mean you shouldn't tell me because I want to know. Otherwise, I just feel like everyone is so much being with God all the time. Huh? And many times we have these contradictions. I'm praying all the time. I'm praying all the time. But I just had a terrible day yesterday. How? Where's the time to even evaluate the day? Isn't that a moment wasted away from God? So it is a constant project. It is not something you turn on and off. It is literally a new way of life, a new way of existing. In a constant prayer, in a constant inquiry, but basically a constant focus on God, not on the me. What to do when it's difficult? Yeah? You know the answer. Just give up. I'm saying it as a joke. When things are too tough, when it's difficult to stay with God, yeah? Just give up. Can't give up. You have to use everything that you have. Everything that you have. Yeah? This Maya, like the boxer in the opposing corner, he'll come and say, what will you fight? You give up. Leave it. It's not, you can't do this. This is only for the special ones, the sages. You are nobody. How will you do this? How will you find God and stay with God? Who you think you are? Yeah? This is the only time I'd ask you to ask that question. So when times are tough, know that God knows that times are tough. God knows that times are tough. But when times are tough, if we turn towards Him instead of turning away, then He knows that as well. That it was very difficult for my son, for my daughter to turn towards me in this time, and yet he did, or she did. I've taken that example, isn't it? Of our biological children. So if my son calls and he's on holiday, he's partying with his friends and he says, "Hi Pa, I just called to say I love you," something like that. You like it, it's nice. But if he calls and says that I'm in the middle of a crazy day, there are fires everywhere, everyone is helter-skelter, and still I remembered you and I wanted to spend a moment with you, that really touches your heart. So if a worldly, biological father can know these things, can appreciate these things, what about the all-intelligent one, the all-knowing one? Is it? Oh, yes. If you dropped it, you dropped it. Start fresh now. Pick up the resolve afresh and remain with the truth. Right? Anota.
Guruji, I mean, when you, the point is that you know that if you turn to God in your very chaotic work, you would really feel stabilized. You very well know that. But even after that, you don't want to turn at that time.
Yes.
Today morning also I was going through Manas. I went through whatever we did last time, and I left the book there, thinking that in during my work I can turn and read through a few pages. It was there just beside my table itself. I did think that let's read, but I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I still remember that very fresh.
Yeah. It
So
happens with all of us. It happens with all of us. There's a book that I'm trying to finish called The Watchful Mind. So every day as my work is starting, then I just keep it with me, and I feel like when I get a few minutes, I just pick up, go through a chapter. It doesn't happen. It's not got finished. It happens with all of us. But that just to say your prayer is good.
Sounds very strange.
You don't say. You feel that what you feel like needs more effort to pick up and read, because that can seem to break the flow of your work, or just while everything outside is going on, just to keep remembering Him and praying to Him. Are you able to do that? If you're able to do that, it's fine.
Verbally, but really to turn, that is a separate thing.
Yeah.
That I'm not able to do.
Your verbally will deepen into the turning. Don't worry. So when we're learning how to surf, I don't know how to surf, but I'm presuming it's like this, where you go over the small waves first, you learn to balance on the thing. Then as you learn, then your skills develop, you deepen in that. You see, you're constructing the temple. Like I said, the deeper, the higher the temple that you've constructed, the easier it will be to turn. See? So keep at the project. Don't get disheartened saying, I should be able to do this by now. I should be able to do that by now. So even if what you're saying is true, that at least verbally, even mechanically, it seems you're trying to stay with the prayer for most of the time or all the time. That's very. See? So then tomorrow, easier. Tomorrow deeper. Day after deeper. Yeah. Okay. But when you zag or zig back, then does that Z go deeper, or does it become less? Is it like a dying trend line, or what is the shape of the wave? I notice here also, like sometimes I told you that ebb and flow happens, where sometimes you just like little bit, you're able to pray a little bit, you see, and it seems so difficult. The other times where it feels like, wow, what a day, what a day, like that. So sometimes after you have that, wow, what a day, then the next day is all, like that. It can, so that zigzag can happen. Yeah. But we learn to get back on the surfboard. We keep following, we keep surfing the high waves sometimes. Sometimes we fall at the smallest obstacles. But that's why it is literally, there are so many metaphors of this being a war. Like Mahabharata, Ramayana, all the spiritual sagas, all the spiritual history depicts this inner battle as a war. Nobody says it's a cakewalk. Has anybody said you just start and you just start praying and then tomorrow you'll pray deeper, then you see, it'll become effortless, it'll become a japa, then it'll become heart prayer, then you'll just be in samadhi, just like week after week. Nobody has reported that. Even God in his avatar, as in the human forms, in the incarnations, went through a lot of it. Like if you read the Yoga Vashisht, you see that Ram also went through a lot of struggle. Jesus was also tempted and prayed a lot. So, once you are in this human condition, then the attraction of Maya is really strong. But at least I'm happy that you're getting a sense of the project deeply, because otherwise most are trying to include their spirituality in the Maya itself. Our spirituality has become about our me. That is the trickiest part in Satsang. Because that trump card is always with the mind. Anything good happens, quote unquote, good happens to you, the mind wants to make it about you. Make credit, make pride. So how will God give us more and more? If you keep falling for pride, if you're collecting spiritual insights and experiences like they're trophies on a medal case, that's why one important thing is, doesn't matter what happened yesterday, today you're a beginner. Today you're a beginner. Every day I'm a beginner. I'm just starting, I don't know anything. Nothing has happened, no art seat, no enlightenment, no freedom, nothing. I'm a beginner. And that makes us open to learn as well. You can see how easy it is to get caught up in stagnancy, complacency. It is very possible for this boy to have got stuck in 2009, you see, and then died stupid. I mean, he'll probably still die stupid, but hopefully a little less stupid than that. You see? It sounds very different from what we think we know about freedom and enlightenment. So just, if you don't hear anything at all, just hear this tip from me. When you've done your due diligence and you found a scripture or a book or a sage is writing, then when you pick it up, then you forget everything you know first. Just read it fresh as if you're just a beginner who's learning the basics. Otherwise, you're just sitting and confirming what you think you know. Then it's just like, oh, yeah, even he said that. Even he said like that only. I was thinking this only. Then we missed everything, that any chance of learning anything new. We just get stuck in confirming our pride only. So when you read a scripture, when you read a religious text, with the beginner mind, and see if we can do that in Satsang also. In Satsang, you end up paying more attention to that which you think you already know. Is it like that? You notice like that, no? All of you have your favorite topics. So it's like listening, but when your favorite topic comes, it's like that. Then it's going right. So it should actually be the reverse, no? Because if your favorite topic you already research, you already know a lot, you have insights. You see? But it's what you need to look at is what you don't feel you know. You see? It can sound very strange, like, because how many times do we report that, I was looking at this, or I saw this thing and I concluded to myself like this. And even in Satsang, Guruji said like that. He said the same thing. Okay, now name 5 other things that he said. No, that I don't remember. You see? Because then you just got to know what you already knew. Are you spotting these things? So these small things are pride. And where have our former conclusions led us? We used to talk about this often, that today's conclusions are tomorrow's confusion. So what is the right approach? More innocence, more simplicity, less pride of knowledge. Yeah. And have you noticed that this pride of knowledge is around most suffering, if not all of it? What do you suffer from? How can this happen to me? This is not supposed to happen to me. I am beyond all this. How can God do this to me? So we think we know what should have happened, and He knows less about what is right for us, and we know better. Then we suffer. So can we take everything as His grace without wanting to know why? Yeah? Because this why will make you suffer. It will make you cry. So, change the why question to the who question. Who am I? Who am I serving right now? Who is this about? Is it about God or me? See?
Guruji, what is this about the beginner's mentality you have mentioned? I have a sense of it, but could you speak a bit more about it?
Yes. What happens is that our constructs make a shape. Then when we introduce to something new, we want to shift everything into that shape. You see, you want to grab everything and put it into that shape. Because to grow that, to expand, seems very uncomfortable. And especially the opposites can seem very uncomfortable. Okay? So one beautiful thing I will tell you is that unless there is some conceptual dissonance in what you think you understand, you cannot be free. Which means that if we don't know how to accept truth value for that which seems conceptually opposite, you see, then we will not go beyond the intellect. because we'll try to mold and shape everything according to our intellect. So, yeah, and in spirituality, if you haven't noticed that everything contradicts itself, then you haven't been paying attention. So everything contradicts itself. But to have faith and have acceptance of that conceptual contradiction, you see, so that much Zen is in every spiritual path. You see? So whether you call it like a conceptual dissonance, a cognitive dissonance, so sometimes the teacher will say, completely give up, just give up everything. Next day he'll say, never give up, we must always fight, always fight. To your mind, to our mind, is very confusing. So what is he actually saying? But somewhere you can get a sense of that. You can get a sense of intuitive insight which is more broad, it is more not constrained by these boundaries. So there comes a point where truth value comes from what rings true in your heart, you see, and many times that which can seem conceptually at odds will ring true in our heart.
How do I start afresh? As in giving up.
Yes, yes. Yes. Let's take an example. So suppose that you got up this morning and it was a Saturday, Sunday, you don't have to go to work, for example. Somebody told you that I've read this book recently, you should also read it. So you get onto your Amazon, you buy it on Kindle or whatever, and the book is there. Okay? Then you're reading the book and you're just reading it from a frame of reference of what you read yesterday. So suppose what you read yesterday was about staying in the now or surrendering to God. You see? So this book is completely fresh from a different stream, and you're reading it from the sense of, okay, now how does this help me stay in the now? How does it help me surrendering to God? Because that is your new truth, your new frame of reference. But this book may be offering a completely different way to look at the pathway to God. You see? But then what will happen is either you won't read it, you will refuse to go further because you will say, it's not interesting me right now. You see? It's not this thing. Or you will say, yeah, actually, he is talking about this or she is talking about this, but yeah, this is same what I read yesterday. It's actually same. Because these positions look more comfortable rather than saying, okay, now I don't know what he's saying, or she is saying, the author is saying, but I have the opportunity in reading a 200-page book to get a sense of someone who has really done this expedition in their whole lives. They spent maybe 20, 30, 40 years. You see? And through just reading these 200 pages, I can get a sense of what are their key insights, what did they come to, what did they realize, what are their weaknesses, what are the things which they found. Such a beautiful opportunity to walk with somebody's hand that we don't have to book a flight to meet, or they may have left the body also. So just don't apply your frame of reference and say, now this also, I understood it's like that. Like you should spend like the first 1 or 2 hours, if it's a deep book, just not getting a sense that I'm understanding. Yeah? Just like something is starting to develop, but I can't really say which way it is going, what it is taking me to. And that is how you'll be able to approach really beautiful one like Kierkegaard. If you approach like a Kierkegaard from a sense of already knowing something, then there's no chance. And that's why most people don't endeavor to read the great philosophers, because so their communication, their way of expression, everything is so far removed, so unique in their own construct of, like they've built their own language. You see? So Kierkegaard took a few attempts to get into, and as I used to come to satsang also, I used to say, something is happening. I don't know what, the words are not there, but something is starting to take shape. And you just have to allow yourself to not be able to say, I understood this, I understood that. You just allow it to grow on you. And why this is very important, okay, thankfully I'm mentioning this main point, is that this is how the teaching of the Atma happens. See? The Atma doesn't reveal the truth to you saying, this is it. Aham Brahmanasmi. See, it doesn't come like that. It's just something. See? That's why so many times you'll feel like you're learning something, you're understanding something, but you don't have the words to express it. Somebody says, what's happening to you? You can't really say. So it's much broader than language. See, this journey of transformation from head to heart is much broader than just put in words. It's not like just changing one dictionary in the head to a new dictionary. It's a complete reworking of our system inside. So patience, faith, courage, being okay with not understanding, being completely fine with not knowing the next move. How will you be patient with learning to hear from the Atma within? If you're not patient with spiritual text, if in 5 minutes we get bored, we get irritated, we want to understand, or we force fit our understanding on it and say, yes, this is that only, then we will not grow. Like take the Psalms, for example, or many books in the Bible, because it is so, like the Old Testament is really old, literally it's the Old Testament, and the New Testament is also about 2000 years old. So, but even if it was not old, you see, it is a spiritual text. Like the Psalms, if you try to read, you'll be like, what is this stuff? What is he talking about? Cut off the heads of my enemies and all of these things. What is he saying? Where is the kindness, compassion? Where is this Jesus like? And most of the Psalms are prophesying Jesus in some way. But if you read them, it can seem like, but these are very different. They're very violent. They're very unkind. You see? But really, if you start looking at them deeply, they are talking about the inner journey. See? And these attacks that come, these mind attacks and these things. So the prophets and the sages in their beauty have expressed it in these ways. But there are places in which it can be met. But if you just give up on them and say, no, I don't like this. And in that quick to discard, we think we know a lot. And all of this I'm saying because I've done these things. I've done a lot of this stuff. No, I like this more, I like this less. You don't really know. Yes. And especially if it is spiritual and it has been advised in satsang, you've been told by your teacher to follow, then don't be quick to think that we know better. How is the communication that is happening with the Atma within? Is it constant or is it broken? It's constant. No? I mean, ideally speaking, it's constant. But if you ask any sage, what is your Atma saying right now? Many times they'll say, I don't have words. I can't express what it's saying. Does it mean that the communion, the communication has stopped? No, it hasn't. But it is happening at a level deeper than words. See? So we must also start getting used to that. See? Our mind pushes us for quick answers. What's going to happen? Tell me now. Will everything be okay? I want to know. Will it go my way? I want to know. But the Atma doesn't oblige us that way. I mean, sometimes it may, but it wants to make sure that we don't become proud. One beautiful example I read in a book. They said that suppose you're a soldier. You just joined the army, you're a soldier in the army, and you're fighting for the king. In one battle, you did really well. So is the king going to say, now you're the co-ruler along with me? You can come and rule this kingdom along with me after one battle. Okay? Or even if he says, okay, now you're the head of my army, you're the general. Okay? Then why does the king usually not do that? Or the leader of the country usually not do that? Because although that child, that soldier may be talented, they may be the best warrior, but if they get it too quickly, too early, then they become proud, and all the good work will go to waste. And we must trust that God knows. Always trust that God knows. Otherwise, everybody says, okay, first satsang, finish, I should be enlightened, I should know everything, I should just go back. You see, with everything. It doesn't happen like that. Because the ways of the Atma are symphonic, are deep, and it's not just conceptual. And you see that every moment you spend with the Holy Spirit inside you, the Atma inside you, you're growing so much. Things that you never even contemplated. Somebody asks you and something comes from your mouth. And you don't know how that happened, how you understood these things. It's a very different way from the usual classroom system. How can you learn something just by being? In God's presence, you are growing, you are flowering like a flower flowers in the presence of the sun. What did the bud understand to become a flower? Just in the presence of the sun, it starts to bloom. So, stay with the Atma within, stay with in the presence of the Spirit. And the best news? That the Atma is the most loving teacher. Because you feel, if you spend time with the Atma within, not only are you growing, you're learning, you're maturing so deeply, but also you feel so much love, you feel so much joy, peace. So there is no downside. There is no downside, except you have to let go of ego.
How do I reset my
How do I?
reset my expectation of I should have picked up the book and read? Because when I think logically, it was very easy that I know it would stabilize me. It would So, and it was so simple to do, but I couldn't do it. So I need to reset myself of this expectation. How do I do that?
You don't have to reset the expectation necessarily. You can also see that you can note moment to moment, you can observe yourself being caught in Maya in that time. You can see the force field. No? So keep that expectation and see that Maya is not something that you can just take lightly. Because it seems simple enough. Everybody gets a few minutes in the middle of work. It seems simple enough. I can just pick up the book. It'll remind me of God's presence. I can stabilize myself back in His light. So simple. No? And all of us can say it's so simple. But I'm telling you from my experience also, same thing happened. And that is the power of the Maya's tricks. See, this is the nature of it. That Sangat thing is so important. See, when we are in this Sangat, we want to read Ramcharitmanas, we want to do all of this, we want to hear spiritual things. See, the minute your Sangat changes, then you don't feel like. The power of the company that we keep, whether outwardly or the thoughts we are immersing ourselves in, can just flip us so easily. So this is literally the force field. So God breeds more God. God's light breeds more light. And the delusion of Maya leads to more attachment to Maya. So this is the constant thing. So what was happening is that when I started sharing Satsang, I used to share once in 2 weeks. Every Saturday, every fortnight, Saturday. And then we used to have some beautiful sessions. And I don't know, Jyotika will agree, but I feel they were beautiful sessions. And but what I would feel is that in the 2 weeks, it was almost like we are starting from square one. So I would feel like the same questions are being asked. I felt like we're not covering new ground. We're not going deeper. We said, okay, we'll meet every week. And then that every week became, at one point it was every day. That became too difficult for this body. So now we've come to that 3 because thrice a week you get the opportunity to be in the satsang, the company of those who are seeking God or being with God. And that switches us, at least for some time. Because a week's break sometimes can become too much if we are immersing ourselves in all the worldly things. It's tough, no? So you start your day with prayer and then being in God's presence. So you have the intention, the feeling that throughout the day I will keep reading a bit of this book. But the minute this other stuff, worldly stuff starts, then that has its own magnetism, its own power, and we're not able to switch. You see? So what you have to do is keep that intention, but also make sure that all this outer work can keep happening, but independent of that, inwardly try and be with God as much as you can. We'll already look at, like 2 years ago, all these notions to you would have seemed completely absurd, right? What are you doing? No? So that's how it works. Slowly we grow into it. Somebody had told me at 35 that I'll become a Dadiwala Babaji. No chance. And even for many years, I shared satsang in superhero t-shirts and all kinds of fun stuff just to feel like, no, I'm not. I can just be myself. I don't have to. And we don't have to change our clothes. But in the natural flow, things change and we can never predict. You see? So Anup in 15 years, maybe. Anup in 15 years will be like
It's feeling like a huge problem now, Father, with this because I started doing the Shiva prayer,
Yeah.
and that felt so strong.
Yeah.
Then I moved to Kali.
That you?
Then I moved to Kali.
Yeah, that you change the prayer you change to Kali. Huh?
Kali, and that was also strong.
Strong.
And then I started doing the Jesus prayer.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then Ram I changed to Shiva now.
Happens.
But just, it's, to be very honest, like I feel like I want to go really deeper with this, one prayer. But
You're all laughing because all of us have done these things. I told you, no, that not in this cycle, but in this cycle meaning not in this since we started praying like this, but in my spirituality, I was always shifting between which mantra, what to do, and Ram felt very deep, so I did Ram, 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 Ram. Then I did Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Maybe I did that. And then when it started to really deepen, then I would say, but why are you chanting Ram? Every time you hear a Shiva bhajan, see what happens to you. So, you're a Shiv Bhakt actually. So, then I say, yeah. Then what happens is if you're chanting something else, and that is deepening. No? Then if you just say some the other one, Om Namah Shivaya. Like, wow. One Om Namah Shivaya, you just left all of Maya behind. So then the offer comes from the mind. It says, imagine just chanting this constantly. So then it became Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya. So for a few weeks it was like that. Then it became Om Namah Shivaya. Then it became like you have to force it. Then the mind comes and says, you made a mistake. You've always been a Ram Bhakt. How did you switch that? So go back to Ram now. See, then when you used to chant Om Shri Ram, Jai Jai Ram, it was so pristine, it was so amazing. Try. Then you do Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram. Like, wow, this is something else only. How did I leave this? That was Maya. I left it. So then we don't settle, and I never settled. Before EDS happened here, if somebody said, what was your mantra in life? And spiritual mantra, I couldn't say. If you were to force me and say, okay, what did you chant the most? Maybe Ram. Maybe. Can't really say. So, and this report will also change from time to time. So, this is what feels true at the moment. So we are in a country. But the good news is that in spite of all this shifting, it is completely different from all the teachers, what the teachers, everyone says. But the fact is that in spite of this, God is blessing and has blessed this foolish boy so much. So God knows. So whether you say Ram, Shiva, Kali Ma, God knows it's for him. It's not ever going to happen that you send the address with the address wrong, so it didn't go to God because you said Shiva when it was meant to be Ram. It can happen like that. No, we all feel conflicted about this. So, how many of us have switched mantras, EDS mantras? Don't lie.
Morning I felt insecure.
When morning?
Morning I felt insecure. I was going to the Ram Charitamanas and
Ram Nam is
It was about Nam, and it was about
beyond
Ram.
Saguna, beyond Nirguna,
Exactly,
beyond Brahman,
exactly.
beyond everything is Ram. That which follows just the name of Ram is the Nirguna and the Saguna.
Exactly.
Has to be high. That whole section is
And
beautiful.
I was like, I am more into Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. Where is it going?
So Krishna, then when you read Tulsidas ji, they say like that. If you read somebody else in the Bhagavatam, they say that one chant of Hare Krishna is worth some 500 or 1,000 chants of Hare Ram. Then you feel like, oh, I picked up the wrong one. You see? So in all of this, I feel like at least what I've realized here is that God knows. You see, whether you say God, you say Ram, you say Krishna, you say Jesus, you say Allah, you say Devi Ma, you say whatever, He knows it is going to Him. You see? There is some advantage we can give to ourselves. That's the second point of it, which is the momentum that repetition of one mantra gives that natural momentum, allows it to become ajapa. So after experimenting like this for about a year or so, we can just settle on what our heart is guiding us. We try not to switch too much after this, because don't ever feel like something got wasted. Nothing for God is ever wasted. So it is not wasted, it is your sadhana, it is definitely gone to God. But now to help yourself, help you go deeper in it, and for it to become just natural, just settle on the one where you felt like this is, at the moment, is the most heartfelt. Say it. We can turn this off for a bit. Another mic.
Okay. But so just like how you just described, Vata, that the mind has so many suggestions about whom to pray to, and just feels like when I'm praying to Shiva, Shiva feels like I'm Shiva's child, and things like that, and I've always,
You're Ganesh ji or Kartik.
what really?
Okay, a child that we don't know about.
Father, but whenever I used to go through stuff earlier, I would always pray to either Jesus and Shiva. And so the mind suggests that, okay, pray to Shiva and Jesus, because it's the Jesus prayer that Father is also saying. So pray to Jesus and then pray to Shiva, because those are the ones that feel most like, if you felt most not like resonant with, because when I was watching the entire Ramayana, then I was just chanting Ram. And then when I went to a Kali Ma's temple, and then Kali felt so alive, and then I started chanting Kali. And Shiva always felt so powerful, So it's like right now
What are you able to stay with the longest? In the sense that in one sitting, that may be one way to look at it.
how now? In equal quantities.
Just close your eyes for 2 minutes and just pray to God deeply in your heart. And after that 2 minutes, whatever comes from Him, just stick with that. Clear? What is it?
Right now, the prayer that I'm saying is prayer with Shiva. Just feels.
Okay. Now, at least for 6 months, you don't change. No matter what anything feels like. Because you have to cross those barriers. It has to feel difficult at times. Sometimes it feels like you just don't want to do it. But you have to stick with it. Because that, if you don't go through those obstacles and resistances, then it won't really deepen. Before it becomes ajapa, it has to become very difficult. Somewhere the mind has to surrender to it and say, this one is not leaving it. Father, does it matter which God we choose? Seems frivolous to ask this way, but want to check. I am just praying to Jesus and sometimes to Ram and to Yogi Ram Surat Kumar ji because of Bhagwan Yogi Ram Surat Kumar and my love for it. So I answered, no, so that it's not, it doesn't matter to God. God knows. He knows wordlessly, with words. When we are turned towards Him, He knows every moment much better than we can ever know. But to help ourselves allow it to deepen is good that you've tried out, and then just settle on something which it can just become a prayer of your heart, where I don't want anyone to start imagining these things, okay? So, because I noticed that once something is said, then everyone jumps to imagine. But it should just be that when you're sitting by yourself, your heart temple is resonating with the sound of your prayer without any effort from your side. You see? So it will take on various steps. So initially it will seem like you're in the world and you're chanting. Yeah? You're in the world and you're saying Ram, 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 Ram. You're in the world. Then it seems like you've given it to your mind and your mind has accepted it. So the mind starts going Ram, Ram, Ram. Mind starts going. Initially with effort, then it seems like effortlessly. Effortlessly it just... Yeah. Then it will seem like, so it's like you're walking on the path to your heart temple. Yeah? Then what will happen is that you will feel that you are facing God within yourself, in your heart. You're facing this holy, unperceivable, uncreated light, and you are chanting but in your heart. So it seems like something that you're doing, but you're doing it in a different place than earlier. And then there comes a point where you just have to visit that place, and it's like in the space of that holy temple, the words of your prayer are just being heard by you. You're immersing yourself in that. And then it may become completely wordless. And you don't have to worry about any of this as a progression. If you're a beginner, or even if you're not a beginner, you've been in spirituality 50 years. But if your intention is that I want to not be involved in this world and attached to Maya, and I want to be with God, that is, in my eyes, as high as the wordless prayer of quiet, wordless samadhi state that you may experience. In my eyes, there is no difference. In my eyes, actually, what you do in the sand may be higher. That all this is not happening, no samadhi, no honey, no reverberance in your heart, none of it is happening. Not even the mind is agreeing, it is actually fighting. And still in all of that, you said God, you said Ram, Ram. That for me is very valuable. Yeah. So we must never feel that we have to rush into it, or we have to get to these points. And they're all beautiful, and the deeper it is, the more beautiful it will seem. But our work is to meet things where we are right now. and not get into any sort of fantasy making and idea making. Because who are we fooling? Just ourselves. Yeah? So the mind also loves the idea of progress. So we have to be really careful. Just remember the audience of one. Let's go to Divan. Yeah.
There's just so much like thank you in my heart, and it just had to come out to just because like this, like so much gratitude in my heart for what you speak, and feels like for a very long time, like I just yearn to like hear what you speak about, and I just pray that those who have this, that they should meet your spirit, that they should hear your spirit, even if not physically, but they should taste this like wordless word which you're expressing, and thank you so much for like the like you're able to like there's so subtle like tricks of like what you say Maya, like of this realm, like something even in like spirituality, and even when you're like coming to know God, and there's like so many like subtle like deceptions and illusions, and it's very similar to when I was reading like Saint Teresa the Interior Castle. She hints at this, and I really see like spirit. She's trying to like convey something that is not. There's no words for it,
Yeah.
and I also see that when I listen to you, and it's the same like this like subtle tricks. Because I see that it's also happening here, so sometimes as well. The prayer is really helped a lot, because it it's like this twist of like, because it's very possible to like make even like the prayer about like the sense of like the meaning is like the deeper you go, is like the subtler something tries to draw the me out of like my beingness or something, or like my soul. I don't know what it is. Like, and this is why it's not enough to just have like the inside, there's always a continuous growth and growing in the spirit. And it's like, I don't know how to explain this. Like, your words just like reflect something that is wordless in me. And because it's this, like, it's so like how even when you're praying, like something wants to keep turn your face towards me and not towards God.
Yeah.
Like there's a force that does that. Like even it's so subtle. Like
Yes.
I know that there's so many, like I feel it in my heart that there's so like many beings who they have seen this, but somehow they just need somebody to, and that's my prayer that and I've seen that with this prayer as well. You can reach, it reaches other beings as well, even beings which you don't necessarily know about them.
Yeah.
But the prayer, because it's one, there's a oneness about it, and I'm just so grateful for the prayer. And I don't know, I just feel like you give me like all the tools that, and you continue giving me like the tools of remaining in God. Just thank you so much.
So
Thank you.
welcome.
I'm so happy to see you.
Same, same.
And Devan, how you said that you really clearly like make it known, like these blind spots. So you're so clear about the way that you allow us to come to that seeing, to see that there's these, when we're making it about the me. And
I just want to say for some of you maybe new that when some of the fundamentals who've been in satsang for some time say that I'm so clear and I'm guiding in the way I can be quite precise. They have to be in the process of growing, maturing themselves. They are finding the light of the Atma guiding them in this way, using this instrument to just speak the words. So all duty, all guidance, all credit goes to the one who is using this instrument and guiding all of us together. It's as much for you to hear as for all of us. Nobody should feel like they're talking about a person, Ananta, who knows something. How Atma wants to guide us for the moment. And all reverence, all love, all gratitude is accepted on behalf of that presence which is moving this body in satsang.
and there's a little bit of resistance at the beginning of satsang, or like just some like me happening, and then you said to start every moment as a beginner and to that know that everything's God's grace and to not understand why. And it was just such a like just simple reset in that way, and to like even because you can't like it really just takes care of everything when you say start as a beginner and don't know anything. Like it really just wipes out anything that could kind of get in the way and become about me. I wish I could speak better and clearer.
Every day. That this instrument is such an inadequate instrument to express what is being shown in my heart. So this we have to get used to, all those who are learning to live in God's light. It's like such a primitive, blunt instrument.
Yeah, it's almost like feels late, you know, like the words seem late, like to, I don't know.
You should have a computer graphic or something, some animation. With these two force fields, and one force field we have our head, and inside the other force field we have our heart. Just the interplay of both of them is life. Yeah? It's like that.
I'm sure someone can make that. Not me though. I'm not very good.
And as I was saying, it wasn't sounding as cool. I was seeing inside the inadequacy of words.
Thank you. Love you.
Thank you, Father. When I wrote that question, when I started, it seemed like a mind question, but as I was writing it, I don't know, in my heart, it felt that there is much more into it. And I think your answer addressed that. And I didn't, I would have to re-listen to that. So I felt it's a Satsang highlight, to be honest, because it just guides us so beautifully, like into the whole, like different stages of the prayer, I guess, and where it can take us.
That part is okay.
Yeah. And but I guess when you said 3 minutes, because I also thought if there is something that I need your help with. When I was in Tiru for the first time, just after, like just before COVID started, I was there just for 2 weeks, and I was chanting Nama with Madhevaki in the morning and in the evening.
Yeah.
And I was walking on the street sometimes, and I could notice something in me was chanting. Even if I was walking and I wasn't mentally singing or anything like that. I was just noticing. And with Jesus, even if I'm a Christian, I've been baptized in his life, I never felt a connection. I just started probably to look after him after I met Guruji. Yeah. And like even if I go weekly to Christ Chapel and pray, I'm starting to feel more like Guruji's grace in Christ Chapel rather than Jesus. So,
Come with labels?
Sorry?
Does it come, grace is coming with labels?
His level. Yeah, kind of.
So
It's the same, like because someone.
all these holy ones, and they have their allocated amount of grace which they can send, and then from which compartment are you getting the grace?
Someone, sisters asked you like about, I pray to Shiva, I pray to Ram, I pray to Kali, I felt it strong. And then also, I know my mind also put hierarchies, like, and Madhevaki said in a satsang, like, Yogiram Surakumar Nama is much stronger or more powerful than Ramanam. And then Guruji said at some point in time, like, if you don't like self-inquiry, you go back to chanting. So,
He spoke about Zen spirituality.
And I actually challenged, the Nama chanting so badly that I was in Shiva temple once, and I questioned Yogiram Surat Kumar's teaching in my head. And actually, Yogiram Surat Kumar and Madhevaki, they both came out of those pictures as light into me in their compassion, I guess.
We're all waiting for the conclusion they offered.
To feel my stupidity.
What did they say you should chant?
Oh, sorry?
What is the answer to what you should chant?
I think I can chant anything. It's more if you can pray for me to maybe strengthen my Jesus connection. I would appreciate that.
So yes, of course, I'll pray for you. Also,
Thank you.
Spirituality, the number one ingredient along with humility is what? It's faith.
Yeah.
It means that one simple way of looking at faith is that I cannot know rationally, I cannot know conceptually, and that applies to everything in spirituality. What is the best path? What is the best mantra? Where should I walk? What should I read? Should I follow this guru, that guru? What should I do? Whose satsang should I go to? What should I listen to? Am I a Christian or a Hindu or a Sikh or a Muslim? Or everything is faith. We can never know really.
Yeah.
So just enjoy the feeling of being completely foolish in the head, completely reliant on God to guide us every moment. And it may sound strange to say enjoy that, but it is very enjoyable. Because if you ask me what is the best mantra, is it this, what Guruji says, is it what Mahadev Ki said, is it what this one said, I have no idea. I'm
Yeah.
this man who sits here every evening, I have no idea.
I'm not asking for that. I just.
No, I know you're not. I'm just saying that I have no real conclusions to offer. And self-inquiry versus japa prayer, we've talked about it very often in the last few weeks. So we've looked at that. Now, why I'm answering all of this is because, as it was mentioned, and those who are new may also have these questions, so it's good to use the opportunity to just clarify some of this. No? So, whatever we do for God, whatever we do for truth, God knows. And we don't have to worry about what is better or worse. Because the better or worse of it will come from grace. It will only come from God's will anyway. So you don't have to worry.
Thank you so much. Thank you for Satsang,
Anyway.
for having us in your heart.
Let's go to Muni.
Thank you, Father.
Thank you.
Thank you. I don't have anything much to say. I just I haven't come up for quite some time. Maybe it's not so long, but just thank you, and yeah, just for to come.
All my love, all my blessings.
Can I have one question, please?
Yes.
Is it like when you speaking about when you speak about the mind and the force field, like lately, like for example, if I'm not doing the self-inquiry or playing or praying, like mostly, not always, but the mind is like constantly running, and like I'm doing the best I can just to let it go, and it can be about anything. Mostly, it's about the situation and spirituality. Is it just like to let it come and go?
Yes.
Yeah, it's the same question I have all the time.
Very good. Yes. It is that.